Hello friends, welcome back for Litecoin versus Bitcoin and Litecoin versus US dollar technical analysis with me, your pal Rocky Outcrop. I'm feeling a bit under the weather today. I don't think it's Corona. Don't worry for me. Honestly, don't be worried. If I do pop my clogs, then I'll put it in my will that somebody has to update the community tab anyway. So you'll all be sure to be found out about that down the line if that's the case. So what we're looking at in terms of this here, well, it's the same story. It's the same story as it has been, and we're still consolidating. This is kind of this weekend. We've got another Sunday that's actually acting as a Sunday like we had recently with other assets, and we're just kind of going along here sideways. And well, we saw that the prices came down as far as the our line here, where we saw them come down to 33.3, and then we've come back up a bit subsequently. But of course, today's a sort of red doji that we've got on the go. Don't really know where prices are going overall. There's sort of everything's just kind of going along saying we don't know all of the different indicators that you've got. Well, we don't know. If we go down to the 4-hour and see, in this incredibly sideways action where the prices have been operating fairly consistently in a range of say 5% or so. And what's the actual movement we've got today? 0.2%. We're this very doji-tastic. So what's going on? Well, we don't know. When we're not going to know. Like the simplest ways of looking at this is that we've had this downtrend. It's trending to the downside. And have we made a higher high yet since along all this path here? Well, no, we haven't. And have we been making lower lows? Well, maybe if I just sort of get rid of that for a second and look at these bottoms a little bit, technically we have. But of course, it feels so much like we're consolidating in and amongst this area. I'll stick that back wherever. Who cares? Still feels like we're consolidating in amongst this area because look at this is like pretty much pure sideways, but you could say that it's to the downside. You could, and if you were to say such things, then you'd have to look towards all of this bullish divergence here as the RSI and everything else is going towards the upside. So you kind of decide if you think that's a downward trend continuing, then that's bullish divergence for you. If you don't think it's a downward trend, then that's just the oscillators resetting, and that's it. That's the sort of their 1 foot in each grave. 1 foot in each grave. No, 1 foot in the grave. It's not even an appropriate. You're being inappropriate, Rocky. Shut your mouth. Yeah, and of course we're miles away from getting above, or not miles away, but we're if I were to draw a Fibonacci retracement in here, for instance, and say, oh look, have we turned this around yet? Which we clearly haven't. Then it would be, it wouldn't be there, it wouldn't be happening. We haven't broken above anything. We're still just going sideways. Now, what could happen? Well, anything could happen. Anything could happen in the next 60 seconds. But if we were to just roll over again and go on down, then the two targets to the downside are 31 and 28, 29 there in terms of those two prices. They're just as the initial targets, and of course the profit taken to the upside is 35, 36, and then the greedy side up there at 39. So let's skip on over to the dollar thing, because as we've been saying every video for the last ages, it's really the dollar ones that are giving us our clues as to where the prices are going. And you can see this consolidation is far more in effect over here in the dollar prices. So despite the sort of what you could say is a downwards 4-hour trend, yeah, you can see over here that we're just consolidating. And what's the crack here with this? Well, we're at the bottom part of this. That means I'm not a financial advisor, none of us financial advice, but that means you could, for instance, take a low risk. And by low risk, what I mean is fairly easy to manage risk. Long, coming in from around this $2 area, $2.07, and try and cash out around $2.30. For instance, here at this line, $2.30, because we've got resistance there, profit taking lines, and then you've actually got three of them up here, 234 and then 238. You could just that could be your three targets if you wanted to, off a very that would be very nice to have that. And then if you were to end up going up above this area, your next profit taking target would be this 260 area, because we've seen the price has come up as far as that. And then I suppose then thereafter you're kind of looking at, I've really been, I am not myself today. Excuse me for getting the wrong buttons and everything. You're really looking at your sort of peak profit target for greedy folk being up there at that $3.25, $3.29, $3.30 potentially, depending on exactly how you've drawn these things in. If that was the case, I tend not to like going for that, because I feel like the risk level that you're taking on between this point and this point, for instance, is incredibly greater than the risk you're taking on from this point and this point, or indeed from this point to this point, and that sort of thing. Likewise, if it starts sinking back down again, like we saw here, and in these various other levels. If we go up here and touch here and then come back down to 230 or whatever, you could be looking at again having a short down to $2.09 or so over the next couple of days. Let's see how it pans out. We're filling this thing up nicely. Of course, I actually do mean to hit the measurement tool there this time. If we say that it's 22 bars long and you're looking for 3/4 of that, then somewhere between 15 and 20 bars is where you could maybe get that breakout happening at. And as you can see, that's 17 bars in that we're now. So you could have the breakout happen in over the next couple of days here. But then again, that all depends if that's actually what's going on. Now, what do I mean by if that's actually going on? My clicking skill is low today. What I mean is that you've got things like this here, which isn't a dramatic reshaping of yon triangle, but it does actually extend out this whole thing quite a bit more. So we'll not get too carried away. Always look out for fake outs and breakouts and all that sort of jazz. And yeah, what are the oscillators saying? Well, they're not saying anything. They're not. Let's have a look here. That doesn't say anything much really. It's just sort of spinning around itself, not doing anything fantastic. It looks down because it's been down. The question really becomes: do we see like fake outs happening? They could happen all the way down to $2, by the way. It could even happen on further down. We could even see it coming all the way down to 178. Here, and you might be thinking you're playing a measured move off that. That's why these would be my first profit taking targets if I was currently shorting it and hadn't actually was determined to not take profit at that actual line there. Then I would be looking at $2 and 177 as a sort of that there. 177 maybe is a bit generous even though these bodies came down here and it is this here area. I'd probably, if I was actually going to move down that way, probably not even let myself I'd probably be thinking that's greedy. Take profit at 180 and then wait and see how it actually acts at that 177 level before reconsidering anything. So yeah, thanks very much for tuning in. I'm not a financial advisor, and that's financial advice. Let me know in the videos, in the comments down below. Well, I say that actually, maybe you should let me know if you watch the Bitcoin and everything else, then comment in the Bitcoin video just so I can see it all together. If you watch all of them. If you only watch this video, then let me know. I want to kind of figure out what people are watching. I don't get the actual sort of data in the analytics thing to see, and I want to sort of tailor the content to everybody. If it turns out that a quarter of the subscribers, are tuning in to have subscribed for one's for Tezos, one's for ChainLink, one's for Ethereum, one's for Bitcoin or whatever, and that's just the way that it is, then cool, I can just keep the status quo, everything's fine. But I don't really know how it all shakes up, so let me know what you think and what you want and all the rest of it. I'd like to know, get set off on the right foot, all that sort of jazz. Suppose I've maybe a bit subdued in this episode because I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I'm not dying of coronavirus, don't worry about me. And yeah, I'll catch up with you in the next video. Thanks very much for tuning in.